You're listening to the Coop Homeschool Podcast.
This is your podcast for community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling. I'm Mandy.
I'm Jessica.
And this is The Coop. Let's plan our co-op year.
Yes.
This is part 3 of the co-op series. And so hopefully this is really helpful to you all who really are interested in having a co-op or refining the one that you're in or finding a new one.
Yep.
So let's do our shared scoop on the Coop.
Yes. Summer break.
Yeah.
The Coop Homeschool needs a little break. And while we love our podcast, we have some vacations and fun stuff. And so we're taking a month off.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm wearing my Colorado shirt. Yeah. Because I'll be in Colorado.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that.
Oh, my Colorado shirt?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're doing 3 nights on the way on our drive to Colorado and then 5 nights on the way back. We're doing 2 different routes and we'll be stopping in Las Vegas, the Arches National Park, and Grand Junction, Breckenridge. And then we'll spend a week in Denver. Mm-hmm. And then on the way back, we're going to, it's called Garden of the Gods. It's just right in Colorado Springs.
Nice.
As you head down to Santa Fe. And then we're going to go to Meow Wolf. I did get my tickets for Meow Wolf. Yay! They finally made them available.
That's awesome.
So that's the only for sure ticket reservation thing that I have so far.
So scary.
And Carlsbad and then we're also, while we're in Santa Fe, right above there, it's called Bandelier National Park.
Yeah.
And there's cliff dwellings there. So we're going to do that first. And then they have the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. So I'm going to, in Santa Fe, so I'm going to bring my Georgia O'Keeffe art book for the kids,
cool.
Just in case
we
decide to do that. I also heard there's hot springs there. I have a friend who lived there, so she said she'd tell me some places to go.
Super rad.
And then we'll do Meow Wolf the next day. So we're spending 2 nights in Santa Fe area, and then we'll drive down to Carlsbad Caverns, and spend the night at a hotel that has all these water slides.
So cool.
Yeah, hopefully it's open and it's not a COVID thing, but $100 a night and water slides, I'll take it. Yeah. And then we'll do Carlsbad Caverns, and then we're going to drive another 7 hours and stop in Tombstone, spend the night, and then spend the whole day in Tombstone.
That's so cool.
And then spend the night. We just wanted to break up all the driving, and a whole day in Tombstone. You know, they have the carriage ride, they have the gun show. And then they also, if we run out of things to do, because you can do it in max 4 hours, they have horseback riding and things like that. So maybe we do that. If it's not too hot, it might be too hot for us since it is, end of June by that point. And then we'll spend the night and then we'll leave and then drive home. And I haven't looked up, there's not a lot of places to stop that south. So normally there's a really cool place you can stop halfway through.
Sure.
But not.
You might just power through.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be done. Usually that last leg of the road trip.
Just when I get home.
I don't care about that thing anymore. I don't want to see it. Just
get me home.
Yeah. I want to shower in my bed.
Yeah. And so it'll be 2 weeks and 3 days, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds so cool. So during our summer Coop homeschool break, I will have my recital. So one of my studio's big recital, and then dance camps and ukulele camps and all the things. And so it'll be really nice to just be kind of involved in those things, and then planning our next podcast year and getting a jump start, because we try to be a few episodes ahead. That way, if anything comes up, we don't feel like, oh well, no episode this week.
Yeah, you guys can't go without your podcast, your weekly podcast, Coop Homeschool.
Yeah, you need us.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you need us. So we don't want to leave you hanging for too long.
Yeah.
Or if something comes up, we want to make sure that we've got a plan. And then it's always fun having time off, because then you really see what you value, what really worked, or inspiration to take things a slightly different path. So I'm very excited to see what a little summer break will do for us, and coming back afterwards. It's fun.
Yeah.
I was just thinking how weird it's going to be to film our first podcast after this break, because at this point, this is mid-May. And so we're filming our last episode of this season year, and we probably won't film again until July.
Yeah. So that'll be the longest we've gone. We won't know what to do. We'll be all nervous.
We're going to be noobs at it all over again. Like, this plugs in where?
Yeah.
But hey, we'll figure it out. All right.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
When you are planning a co-op year, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not
Yes.
just haphazardly thrown together.
No.
And I feel like the more planned you can be, the more excited you can be, because you know what's coming, you know what to look forward to.
Yeah.
And the more you're able to let other people know so they can put it on their calendar.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the more organized we are, the more I feel like we can actually be flexible. I think that it's hard to be flexible if you don't have a structure, an outline, a plan, or set dates, because then you have nothing to change it to. Then there's just nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to be flexible with minimal stuff. It just ends up being nothing.
Right.
So,
yeah. And the bigger the group, the more people need to know stuff, and you need to involve them. And,
Right.
You know, if there was only 2 other families in our co-op,
Right.
you could do more things on the fly.
Totally.
Probably.
Hey, you want to go here today? And,
Yeah. So the first thing we do is in May or June, actually probably even earlier, we start as the leaders, we start talking
We talk about it all year round.
about themes and ideas and what's working, what's not working. And then this year, this is the first time we're doing a post-mortem meeting about the previous year with the group.
Right.
And we have this little agenda, and I'm just going to pull it up and tell you, we're going to be Zooming with them.
Yeah.
And just in May.
That way we didn't waste a mom's night out talking business.
Yeah, exactly. And if we're mulling over this and planning over the summer, I'd hate to do all this work and then in August get with them and have them say, actually, that doesn't sound fun to me, and then have wasted all that time.
Right.
So on our agenda for this meeting, we're doing this past year. What worked well? What did you enjoy most? What did your child enjoy most? And what would you suggest we do differently for next year? And those are all questions we've already sent out to the moms saying, please come prepared with these answers to share.
Right. Yeah, you may not have any that you want to share, but we would really love to know. This feedback is really valuable because we consider this everyone's group.
And that's how you all get on the same page too. Also, we have then the looking forward. So that was the looking back, the postmortem.
Right.
And now we're going to look forward. And that's where we propose the theme idea, which we'll tell you about in a little bit. But that's when you confirm your days of the week. It does, we have Mondays and Wednesdays as our options, but usually we did Wednesdays. That seemed to work for everyone. Does that work for you again?
Right.
And then they can say yes or no.
Right.
And if the majority say yes, you go with it. If 1 or 2 say no, that they may just not get to do it.
Historically, I'm the person with a really bad schedule. I have a lot of...
You have more limitations. for sure.
I have a lot of unavailable times. And so I know it's usually the group usually caters their open times to me, but I definitely don't feel like if somebody wants to take something on, they do it on the day that's best for them.
They do, yeah.
Like I am perfectly okay if I can't make it or I need to send Sophia with you so that she can do it because I can't, then I'm okay with that. But I can't plan things on the days I'm unavailable.
Right.
That's
and
just
since
not
we're
work.
the leaders, we're saying this is when we can do it.
Right.
Does this work for the majority of you?
Right. We just need to know because that helps people going forward so that they know, well, Tuesday's best for me, but if I do that, I know I might only get 3 families. And that's okay depending on what the event is.
Yeah.
But it's nice to set those expectations.
And then the second thing we're going to go over is the theme idea. And also how we would start the year or end the year. And then the third thing would be other ideas and themes that people might have that they want to do. And then also other special days, whether it's like a career day or going on a tour of the missions or other, doing a tour of the museums, whatever it is.
Right.
We want to hear that from them in that meeting so we can start mulling over it, thinking of it as a group.
Right.
So when we have a meeting later, we're ready to go.
Exactly.
And then new people. So we're going to discuss new people because here's the question, and I'll just jump into that now since we're on it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for my notes on that. Do we want to add to the group this year? Will it work with what you want to do? So Jesse, you had a really great point in if someone wants to do these awesome events, like the horse rescue farm would only take 5-6 families.
Right. We had to hope not every family in our coop group wanted to go.
Yeah.
Or we would have had to go in 2 groups,
Yeah.
which isn't the worst, but it's not ideal for what we have historically been.
Right. And so you have to think of the events that you have going on and where you host them. Is it conducive to growing the group?
Right.
Or not? And then do you have people leaving the group? This might be a good time that people say, actually, I'm not going to renew. Right. I'm not going to come
There's a lot
year.
of pressure on you and me too. You know, you just mentioned it with the idea of the horse rescue, because when you and I were even planning or talking about it, it became this thing of, if we have to go with two groups, like you and I probably can't have our kids go in the same group, because we don't want to make it seem like, oh, well, we're picking the best group, you know, or we get what we want, you know. But then at the same time, are we purposely like I have the one kid, right? And so am I purposely not letting her be with her closest friends,
right,
to take one for the team and be
I
with
know
her?
exactly.
I love everybody in our group, and I want
too.
my kid to also love everybody in the group or explore new friendships and things. But it starts to get to a point where, well, how do you actually break out with it seeming fair? And so it usually feels like you and I aren't allowed to be on the same teams because we need to kind of divide our attentions amongst the group.
We barely hang out at the events.
Which is fine.
Because we see each other other times.
And these other friends of ours are dear, and I love them, and I love talking to them. And then we often get in a full group conversation as well. But I think that we work hard not to be exclusive. We don't want it to make it seem like it's the Mandy and Jessica group.
Right.
We get first dibs on each other, and then everyone else just have fun.
Right.
That's not the goal.
And if it's only one or two times in a span of 10 to 12 events that we would have to break up, no big deal. But what if what you're planning is something that literally can only have 6 families there every single time? Then you really do have to think about how big to grow the group and that. And then also, does your child have a buddy or someone they're excited to hang out with?
Right.
And, you know, we addressed that a little bit more, I think, 2 years ago now, actually.
Right.
When we were saying, hey, we knew our girls had some pressure on them to be friends with everybody there as though it was their special friend.
Right.
And it was just a lot of pressure. So we said, hey, do you guys have other besties too to bring into the group? Because that would actually just enhance the group and make it so no one feels pressure to, oh, I held hands with this person, so this person feels left out. You know.
Yeah, because part of the reason we started the group we started was because our kids were friends.
Yeah.
That made it an easy way to grow the group. But then what happened is some of the first people we would bring in, there was this kind of pressure that our kids had to also be co-leaders in a sense.
Yeah.
And so they had to be the leaders of the kids, which was unfair for them. And I think if any of the parents actually thought about that, they wouldn't.
No.
That would be silly to expect that of, they were 7 at the time, you know, but at the same time, you and I felt it because we would hear that, you know, some kids would feel excluded. And now we, of course, want our kids to be inclusive and kind, but we also don't want to put unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, am I going to tell my kid that she can't hang out with 1 or 2 of her best friends in the group that I've designed for her?
Right.
Because she has to include someone that she sees maybe 3 times a year.
Right.
And so it's a hard balance. So
and
you
it
have
sounds harsh, right?
It does, but it's something to consider when you're inviting people and growing the group, because I don't want my kid to not like the group because every time she goes, she has to now make sure everybody feels included. And we've talked about before how I did make her do that. I did say, you need to go around and invite everyone. And she did not like going to the Coop group.
And now, guess what? They all play in a big group.
Oh, yeah, totally. So they've navigated it, they've figured it out, and they all just create together. It's magical.
It is
really
magical.
Amazing.
Yeah. Sometimes the boys split out.
Yeah.
You know, but it's all organic. No one parent or no group of parents is deciding how the kids should play.
Right.
And that was something that was important to you and I is, well, we want to navigate the big things because that's why we have them interacting in a group is to teach them these things. They don't come up otherwise. You know, sibling relationships are different. So it's important for them to have those interactions. That's an intentional part of the group, while at the same time they need to be able to experience it. So you have to let some of it happen. My kid needs to learn what it feels like to feel excluded, because then it will help teach her not to exclude others. Right. Or she needs to learn that she hurt someone's feelings. You know, if she doesn't get the opportunity to let that happen, because I know she's never going to intentionally choose to do that. Or I guess that sounds very never overconfident. My kid will never.
She's perfect.
No, but I know she would. What I mean to say is,
she'd be
she
surprised.
wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah,
she would be surprised by it.
Those little kids are surprised when they hurt someone's feelings. They don't realize
usually
they did
it's unintentional, but it's important to know.
Yeah, and so you're gauging all that as well, and then you're also looking at the ages of the kids. So if you have a bunch of kids who are 16, do you really want to bring in a bunch of kids who are 2 to 5 years old?
Right.
As much as the moms could all be friends. Right. So to keep in mind. So we used to say, we stay with birth order.
Right.
So our oldest in our whole co-op is 14.
Right.
And so we stay with her. No one can go older than her. And we've contemplated now opening it up a little bit more, because then maybe she has someone she can look up to and be friends with at these groups as well. And I mean, that's always a possibility, but
but when the average age that we organize the events around is 9, that's hard. And this 14-year-old happens to be a great mentor and a great like assistant to these kids.
An old soul.
And so she seems comfortable there.
Yeah. And then the various interests as well, and abilities and field trip appropriateness. If you want to go do these awesome field trips, but you have a bunch of older kids that aren't going to be into the really awesome children's immersion,
whatever,
then do you not organize it? Or vice versa, if you have this awesome thing for the olders to go on, but you have half of the group is little. So, and we talked about this in the last episode.
Yeah.
But, so those are all things just to think about and consider. And that's all on our agenda for our postmortem and looking forward.
Yeah, our poor moms.
Yeah. They don't even know what's coming.
Oh, they do. They got the
agenda.
But but now we need to hear from you.
Yeah, now we need to hear from you. So, but I think now they're a lot more confident and comfortable in talking with us. I think even a year ago when we did the planning, they were more quiet, because it was the first time we were more formal about it, getting their input.
Right, involving
Previously,
them.
we just said, this is what we're doing.
And if you want to do something, go ahead.
Yeah.
It was more free form.
Yeah. But with the book club, we knew we needed their buy-in, because I didn't want to have my kid spend hours reading aloud to my kids, to show up at a book club and having no one had read it, so we can't even have a discussion. I mean,
we needed buy-in.
Yeah, we needed people to say, yes, I'm going to do this, and I am committed. And I even said, are you all committed? Are we going to say don't come if you didn't read the book? And they said, yeah. Now, that still happens because people watch the movie.
We adjusted it to more like, don't come if you're not willing to discuss it. You can't be that book club person who says, well, I didn't read the end. Can we not talk about that?
Right.
That is unacceptable. While we would prefer that everyone reads it or at least makes an effort to read it.
Right.
If you're going to come, be a participant.
Yeah. And then some of them couldn't get through the book, so they watch the movie. I mean, we know everyone has different levels and abilities. And
it's all good.
Yeah. Okay, so you have your leaders meeting and thinking up things. Then you have your postmortem looking forward meeting.
Yep.
Okay, then you have, during that meeting, you get the buy-in and excitement, and you promote it with, and talk about behind the scenes. Then you need to have a meeting where you confirm the theme, you confirm what people want to do.
Right. And you and I will probably have a mini meeting in between that. So we'll have a formal Coop kickoff planning meeting where we have our calendars and we are telling them that this is the official theme for the year, whatever we understand. But, after the postmortem meeting, Mandy and I will have a separate postmortem to say, okay, it sounded like, maybe this wasn't the most popular thing.
Right.
What did you think of this idea? Are you good with that? Because if we're happy to change course and all of that, then absolutely. And so then that may change how we already have.
Right. And there could be a way better idea that comes up and everyone's like, yes, let's do that as the theme. And then it's like, all right,
Done.
Yeah,
great.
And then you would set up your meeting, your dates, and you ask everyone to come with your calendar and you put the dates in then, because no matter how much you send out stuff with information, and even a Facebook group that we have and we load the events on, people are waiting for us to load the events to know what's happening. We're like, we sent out a whole sheet with all the events, but that was back in August.
Right. You should have already had that date marked most of us don't.
Yeah.
You know, but the idea is you should have already known it was going to happen.
Right.
You know, and so
because the year is laid out.
Right. So now there's going to be a little more intention, like bring your calendar.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing this particular thing,
make sure you mark that on your calendar. Like if you don't want to come to the other ones or commit to it yet, that's fine. But if you are signing up to host something, present something, whatever, you make sure that's on your calendar.
And we talked about adding, I think you have it on here, but we talked about adding a monthly email, almost like a newsletter, because I think that's a great opportunity to remind everybody. But I was like, I don't want to have to remember to do that every month. You don't want to do that either. We already, between the Coop homeschool and the Coop group and our personal lives, I just can't put one more thing on my work schedule.
Right.
So we were talking about at the planning meeting, setting up the auto emails.
Yeah, just right then and there.
Right, for each month. Okay, we already decided in May, we know for sure these things are happening. And then if we remember to add in the extra things or things that change before that email gets sent out.
We can go to the scheduled category and there it is. And and you would express gratitude for thanks for hosting.
Right.
You know, you'd have that in there too from the previous month. And I mean, we could even put whose birthday it is that month.
Totally.
I mean, whatever.
Right. So we'll come up with a template for the monthly email.
Yeah.
And then that way it reminds, you know, Bob that Bob is hosting next month. And so if Bob gets that email on the first of the month and can't host it, we don't have a Bob.
So funny how Bob. You picked a guy too. I don't have any guys organizing anything.
But I didn't want to call out another Coop group mom for any reason. But, you know, so if Bob gets the email on the first of the month and sees that he's supposed to host something, if he can't do it, that gives him the opportunity to say, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I overbooked this month.
Yeah.
You know, and we give total grace for that. You don't know in August if in November your whole family falls ill.
Well, we plan all the way through May even.
Right.
So like, I mean,
we
think
know
of how
things are going to change, but that's the idea is that because it's so well planned, there's flexibility within that.
And they could even if it's, you need to push it.
Right.
Or actually the horse farm won't let us come on Wednesday. Can you guys all do it on Thursday? Yeah. Or trade or combine. Like some people have combined. Yeah. And that was next, you know, you can do it through a Facebook group and then also the emails. And then you carry it through.
Right. Then it happens.
And then you do your postmortem meeting in May or June again.
And because if we are doing things a little different next year, it's great to know it did and didn't work.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into, so that's how to plan it. That's like logistics, right?
That's the logistics of planning.
So let's jump into Coop culture.
Yeah.
Okay. We never sat down and like wrote all these things out, but we've discussed a lot of them. And over time, this is what's evolved.
Yes.
Okay. So here's some of them and jump in whenever you want. Okay. So, give of yourself.
Yes.
Whether it's time, money, expertise, something. It doesn't need to be one-to-one. Like it's not like every single person has to do exactly the same amount. But it needs to feel like every family is contributing. And we understand if you're having a hard year or you just had a baby. Okay, we're not going to expect that.
We can carry you for a year or two.
Yeah, right. But now, you know, once your kid's gotten a little older or whatever trauma you're coming out of, eventually we want you back in giving of yourself, not just because it helps us out, but because you have a lot to offer.
Exactly.
And so I can see like when someone suggests something I hadn't thought of, I'm like, oh, I'm inspired, I'm excited, and I can't wait to show up.
We want to benefit in similar ways by our group.
Yeah. It really feeds us. Okay, also another one is please, no drama when various people play date together, camp together, or birthday party without you. And that's just got to be a carte blanche thing. Like no drama, no complaining that you weren't invited. Because are we all supposed to get together however many families there are every single time?
That's inviting the entire kindergarten class to your 5th birthday party. Like that's just not possible, you know, all the time. That's not a sustainable thing.
Right.
And I mean, we all have other relationships.
Right.
And sometimes they're just not going to commingle well. And so you have to be careful. And the whole idea of the group is to have a big group to draw from where you get the benefit of the group. But again, there was no rule that everyone needed to be each other's best friend. We weren't giving up the rest of our lives to do this. Therefore, some people are just going to mesh better. And I mean, that's automatically 25 kids I've now invited to a birthday party.
Yeah.
Outside of...
Now I can't provide dinner. Now I can't do goodie bags or whatever, you know, because now it's beyond what I can do. And I have to tell you, depending on the age of your child, it makes a difference too. An 11-year-old is not... So when my daughter was turning... I want to say 4. I had a Hello Kitty party for her, and she idolized this 11-year-old girl. And she had all these other friends there, even one from 2 hours away that she barely ever sees that drove all the way down. She had her Nana there. But once the 11-year-old got there, she like could not get enough. She was with her all the time. Everyone was like chopped liver after that. She did not care. And you think that 11-year-old ever invited her to anything? No. I wouldn't even expect that.
No.
So just to keep in that too, the incongruencies that happen because people are different ages or different developments or different interests.
Right.
To keep that in mind too, and to not be drama about it.
Right. And if your kid does want to invite the entire Coop group, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Right. Yeah, how great to get to go and celebrate that.
But to be careful of expectations and to remember that, you know, you have to work at forming these relationships. And so if your kid does want a deeper relationship and does want to be the birthday party friend with these kids, there may need to be more work put into that, you know, because a lot of us that are those people, we see each other outside of just the Coop group.
Yeah.
You know, and if we didn't, our kids probably wouldn't be quite that close.
Right.
You know, and so we intentionally have relationships that lead to this closeness.
Yeah. And we had one of those parties this year and it was so fun. It was an outdoor movie.
Yeah, it was super fun.
It was really fun. And I feel like that child, probably the birthday child, felt honored and loved that all these kids were there. And that's a great way too. If your kid hasn't made, I know, especially as my kids were younger, they hadn't made like their buddy
outside friends. Yeah.
And so if I had had the group at that time, I'd been like, I invited my son's entire Little League team. Because that was the only group
that was his social group.
Yeah. Even though we never did anything outside of that with them.
But by the time you get to 6th grade, you don't invite the whole class anymore. In kindergarten, that might be their only pool of kids, and it is hard to distinguish who's actually friends.
And you don't know who. Yeah, exactly.
But by 6th grade, usually it's the small group.
Right. Yeah. And having those intimate play dates, it will make the group stronger over time. And so if you're someone that's like, oh, they're having a play date, I didn't get a play date. It's like, well, then you make that happen. You ask someone for that play date. You invite them to your house or you meet them at a local park or wherever. Okay. Another Coop culture is RSVP to events by the deadline. Because here's the thing, I'm a gift giver. I might have goodie bags for the moms. I might have goodie bags for the kids. I need to know how many craft supplies. So if someone RSVPs the day of, it's like, oh, your kid's just not going to get a goodie bag now. Or you won't.
But you still feel bad about that.
Yeah, now I have to have this negative thing.
Even if you know that you shouldn't feel bad because that wasn't your fault, you know, or you're ponying up the money for something that's not going to be used, which is a bummer.
Oh, yeah. So... yeah,
but just in cases, you know, like, okay, well,
they didn't RSVP, so I guess I'll get it just in case. And it's one thing if someone's sick or something and can't come, or an appointment came up, or double booking, whatever.
That's normal.
But to not RSVP by the deadline and then sometimes show up, or to RSVP yes and then not say you're not coming, and then not show up. You've got to make amends. You've got to say, I'm so sorry. I know you put a lot of thought into this, but I feel really bad I didn't show up.
If you have a newborn baby, we get it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But you have to be aware of that and know that it can be hard on a group because the host or hostess puts a lot of effort into it. You know,
Yeah.
even outside of us, our other hostesses this year have put a lot of work into it, a lot of thoughtfulness, and, you know, to prepare, because some of our families have 5 and 6 kids.
Yeah. Or we're waiting around.
Right.
We're
Oh,
waiting
yeah, to start
around for that
something.
person to show up.
Right.
And if there's been no text, like I'm 15 minutes late and then they show up like an hour late,
Right.
it's like, we don't even know if you're coming or what's happening.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm late a lot, but I feel like
You
I
tell
always
me.
text
Yeah.
somebody saying, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. Okay. And then be positive. That's another Coop culture.
Yes.
Be interested in each other's lives.
Right.
So don't make it about yourself, and ask people questions about what's going on. And if you can't think of anything to ask, just ask, what have you been doing in homeschooling this week?
Right. Right. Or just listen.
Yeah. And then kindness is a priority. And we talked about this a little bit, including freedom to let children be themselves and navigate friendships through trial and error,
Right.
helping them through it together as moms without blaming or pointing fingers.
Right. Knowing that kids are kids and we're here to work through these things with them. So the more that we can be honest with each other and say, hey, Bob, we aren't upset about it, but I thought you should know this event occurred because I'm going to talk to my kid about this particular thing, and I just wanted you to know.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not looking for apologies or whatever it is. I just need you to know so that we can parent together.
Yeah.
Because there's some amount of needing to parent together and be in agreement on certain things.
Yeah. I feel like our group is really good at that.
Yeah.
I know I might have a child go rogue sometime and share religious, you know, you shoulds and shouldn'ts with people. And I just really appreciate if a mom can come to me and say, you know, that's not the way we're
Right. You didn't ask your kid to go do that.
Yeah, I know. And so I
Right.
just want you to gently let them know that that's not okay for me, you know, in a very nice way. Or like my kid hurt somebody's feelings and then I wanted to make sure I dealt with it. And I'm so sorry my kid did this to your kid. So as long as you're willing to make amends, and that's kindness.
Right. And not to be easily offended, because parenting is hard, man.
Yeah.
And just because something happens doesn't mean that we're judging your parenting skills based on that event. Kids are kids, you know, they do go rogue.
Yeah.
Or they don't realize the consequence of their actions or the repercussions of their words. These are the moments. And if we don't know that they're happening and it starts building up and something continues to happen, you know, I mean, I'm sure my kid is inadvertently mean to people or piggybacks on something someone else says.
Or feels weird or awkward in a situation and does something that could totally hurt someone's feelings without realizing, oh, that's something that hurts someone's feelings, but I was feeling awkward.
Right, but I didn't know how to communicate that.
Exactly.
Right. And it's our job to walk them through that. And so being in a group where there's that commonality, I mean, in our group, it's fairly unspoken, at least with the majority, but it has worked really well. And I really do hope that those moms feel confident enough to come to me and know I'm not going to be mad, you know, but
or they let it go because they know it's part of normal child development and figuring things out, and they're okay with their kids going through something.
Right.
You know, if a child is like crying their eyes out at an event and then never wants to go back, then then I'd probably say something.
Right.
Yeah.
Please let me know. Yeah.
Also, we can all learn from each other. Parents parent differently.
Yes.
Your voice matters. You know, make sure the commitment level is about the same. Sometimes when people want to join our group, I say, "Oh yeah, well we're all lifers. Like we're in this because we're trying to build a culture of connectedness for decades to come.
Longevity.
It might not be decades, but my idea is when our kids are gone, we still have friends, and we're not starting fresh now trying to find friends.
Our post raising of kids era.
Yeah, it's like, no, I raised my kids with you. We have so many things to laugh about.
Right.
And so putting that out there, if someone's just joining the Coop just because they wanted some fun play date for their kid, I don't really want them there unless they're going to commit to friendship.
Right. Can you imagine a Coop group 20-year reunion?
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. And then share what you love and what brings you joy, but let parents parent the religion, holiday characters, like Tooth Fairy and things like that.
Santa or no?
Yeah, politics, birds and the bees, mature topics. Let them parent that privately with their children and teach your children the same thing. And that's what I've been working on.
Which is why, again, it's extremely important to communicate with one another, because if I don't know that my kid said something, even if she knows she's not supposed to, it's important for me to know.
Yeah.
Because then I know I have to be more diligent or discuss it again. So, there is that understanding. My kid does know not to talk about these certain things.
Right.
I mean, she still does believe in Santa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And whatever. But I would want you to know, if your kid said that, because you wouldn't know otherwise.
No. And if she's going around telling everybody who Santa really is, I mean, that's heartbreaking.
Right. And we don't need the kids to discuss politics,
Oh, yeah.
And
we have had those experiences where they're discussing the Bible and you're having people of different faiths discussing the Bible and coming and trying to get parent interaction. And then I'm like, can we just not talk about it?
Right.
Just don't talk about it. Kids are not theologians. They're not able to discuss it in a mature, loving way.
Well, they need to know their audiences too, and so it's important to understand that people do things differently. And when you're talking to children, it's a little bit different, like in an adult conversation, you navigate that differently, but you're still listening and looking, and the people who don't care who they're talking to and say it are usually the people who aren't, really in groups of friends, they might have a couple, but they're not usually, Yeah.
Okay, and then accept each other and love each other, knowing we're all battling similar things, being homeschoolers, and that we share something pretty special, motherhood and homeschooling.
Yes.
Okay, so those are just some things I came up with just knowing our group, that of things we've gone through and things that have come up.
Right. And things that are just natural, and then that you can recognize, like, oh, we do all do this. We honor each other in this way.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So other things to consider. Leadership. Do you want to add to it? Do you want help? So I'm going to speak for you. We love leading this group together. But anytime someone says that they want to take a leadership role, we love it too.
Yes. The answer is yes.
They may not be in the initial conversations with us, because it is hard. The more leaders you have, it is hard to be like, wait, now we've got to...
It becomes a formal conversation.
Yeah.
We hang out frequently enough that it's just a normal part of our, catching up every week.
Yeah. Whereas, but if someone else wants to take a leadership role, let people know you're happy to have them do that and take things on. Okay, then it's really fun to do a topic or a theme for your content.
Right.
So you think of what excites you, what excites your child, and we've talked about this especially in episode 2 or in part two of our co-op series. We've done holidays, we did the book club this year, we've done field trips. You could do electives too, like craft group, or if there's a Harry Potter themed group, you could do that. You could, anything to develop skills. You could have a macrame.
Right, totally.
If there's a certain number of kids who really love to do the same thing, or nature or whatever, you could break off and do that, or you can offer that as a series of 3 or a series of 6. This year, we're going to reveal what we're doing. Or what we're proposing.
Yes.
After all this talk, this is what we're doing. Yeah, but what we're proposing is a trip around the world where every month we study a country and one family takes on that country and they tell us how to prep for it, whether it's watching a documentary to discuss, or reading a book, picture book or chapter book to discuss, or it could be a field trip that we're going to be going on, or a cooking class, or a party they're going to have, and they're going to have us each bring an item of food for that, country. And I mean, possibilities are endless what you can do with that. And so it's pretty exciting. And so that's what we're proposing this year, with an end of year Olympic Games obstacle course type of thing, experience. And then, so that would be, so you have leadership, you have your topic or theme, and then you have responsibilities. Is it everyone? Is it just the leaders or just a few people? Are you going to require? So for the trip around the world, we are going to ask the moms to each take a month.
Right.
And then if they don't, to
Buddy up.
buddy up for maybe 2 of them.
Right.
To
Support.
show, yeah,
Right.
to do, because it's so much work to plan one. So if you just even buddy up for one, that's not nearly the amount of work someone else is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would want to buddy up 2 times, like offer to help at 2 of the events, or or whatever they feel led to do. But, and then anything else they want to lead, they can.
Oh, totally. Yeah. You want to go do a museum art day? Please take us. You plan it. You put it on the calendar. You tell us where to be and when or how much it costs. Please do it.
Yeah. And then you also can decide too if you and someone else want to lead it, if you just want them to pay you.
Right.
Say everybody pay $50 and I'll get
I'll do all the work.
And I'll do all the work for you and you just get to show up.
Yep.
And that's a pretty sweet deal too.
Totally.
Because you think I spend more than that just in goodie bags for the kids, you know what I mean? Or the pots and the plants you bought for the potting.
We've always talked back and forth about the different it costs, because some of the families have up to 5 or 6 kids, or maybe 4 that are participating. So for me to do something might only cost $3 for my one child who can participate, but then other families are paying like $20 plus they have to bring a food, you know what I mean? And so we go back and forth a lot. And so for the book club year, we had actually decided to leave it up to the
host.
leader. The
I
host,
like that idea.
Yeah. So do you feel compensated if everyone else is contributing foods and you don't have to think about a food in any way?
Yeah.
Do you want to sponsor the craft? And so, that in that way, it seems kind of fair sometimes. And for me personally, while I like collaborating because I like somebody to help me make decisions, because I hate being responsible for everything sometimes. When it comes to the doing part, I have limited time to do my things. And so I can only think about it when I can think about it. So partnering with somebody is actually challenging because when they're available to talk about it, I might not be.
Well, that's what we found. And that's why this year we said, let's just do our own thing. Because it was just, other than something like Dining in the Dark, like it really did take 2 of us to do that.
Right. Oh, totally. But that's, if you go into it knowing that. So if 2 moms say, we want to do France together because you're going to do this thing and I'm going to do that, and it works together, then that's great. Or if you're the type of person who works really well with somebody, or you're doing it with your BFF, then that's great. But I don't have the same availability as a lot of other people. And so when I work on stuff at 12 a.m., may not be when I can bounce ideas off somebody. And then I'm getting texts while I'm working that I can't respond to. And so to me, that has been a challenge for me personally. So I know I would prefer to do something solo, even though I love the idea of having a partner. I don't want to
even
do
if it's just that they're there on location time to put out everything.
Right.
So you don't feel like you have to ask for help. And I don't usually offer help because I'm like, well, this is my time to show up. Like I'm excited just to show up.
Yeah.
The thing with pain, so here's an example. When we were doing the Crayon Man, I bought probably $70 worth of crayons because
molds.
Because the kids were going to be melting crayons.
Right.
And it actually uses a lot of crayons per.
Yeah.
It's like a box of crayons almost per mold.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know for sure if someone would want to make a second one. And then what if they didn't turn out? So I wanted to make sure we had enough crayons. And then I also had to buy watercolors and paintbrushes and stuff for something else we were doing in cardstock. So then I did ask everyone, can you give me like $3 a kid?
Right.
And that will help alleviate some of the costs.
Right. And we did talk about that in last year's planning meeting, actually. We did talk about what we felt like was a reasonable limit for anything that wasn't an actual field trip.
Right.
So is $3 to $5 per child a reasonable amount of money?
And I kind of always gauge off the one with the most kids.
Right.
So if someone has, let's say, 4 kids that could be actively involved, she said $5 a kid is perfectly fine, and she would even pay more if it made sense.
Right.
Like for this awesome experience.
Right.
And then for the yearbook, it's we're doing $2 a kid, because as much as I I could spend $60 buying these things, but at the same time, if I'm doing multiples of these, I don't want to be out the money.
Right, that's $300 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a maybe 2-night stay somewhere.
Right. It's not insignificant.
Yeah.
It's not $60 a year where that's normally your buy-in to a co-op or something.
Yeah.
You're talking a lot more money, which can be fine depending on the family and the person and the value that they get from doing that, but that is a lot.
But if I only had one to do and I knew everybody else had one to do, then I knew it would even out and then I wouldn't need to ask for the money.
Right. And which is why we did the whole, you decide, do you want to get reimbursed for the supplies that you're providing, or do you just want people to handle food?
Yeah. So those are all things to consider in your group. And some of these things we discuss as leaders just ourselves, and then some of them we discuss with the group to get their input and make sure they felt ownership over these decisions.
Yes.
Okay, and then so a quick few extras to think about doing. A mom's retreat. We've planned that. It didn't happen because of COVID. Girls' nights out. We do a lot of those. And Galentine's night, check out episode 27, Mom Friends, because we go really in depth into Galentine's night.
Yep.
Family events where you include the spouses. We have a couple of those, like dining in the dark and camping, if you could go camping.
And the end of the year.
So the end of the year, or even a kickoff. If you wanted to do a barbecue to kick off the year, I like doing it at the end of the year. Yeah. So this year I'm going to do a video montage. The dads are all invited.
Right.
So that'll be fun. You could also do like a lending library. Coop pet. If you want to do a shared pet.
We talked about that last episode.
Yeah, I know. Camping, holidays. If you want to have a whole regular theme and then have certain holidays you always celebrate, like Halloween, Friendsgiving, Christmas, and Easter. You could just say, we also do those 4. And that's kind of what we do.
Right.
We combined book club with Christmas this year as a Christmas party because I didn't have it in me to do 2.
Right, and we went on that weird second lockdown here in California.
Yeah.
So then it was sketchy whether we should be doing anything. And
and what we learned is you want to do your holiday celebrations way before or after the holiday celebration, because if anyone is sick, no, you don't want anyone coming to your house for Friendsgiving a week before Thanksgiving if anyone has colds.
Right, and even if everyone is respectful of those understandable restrictions, there's the inevitable somebody didn't know they were sick.
Oh, right, totally. Especially a little one who is allergies or whatever.
Which is year-round here.
Yeah. And so if you do, let's say, a Christmas celebration, I would recommend doing it the first week of December. That still gives you 2 to 3 weeks to be healthy, to become healthy.
Right. And it's a great
for your
kickoff
family.
to the season.
Yeah, it is. Okay, and then a birthday club. So we're talking about maybe doing that this year, a birthday club with birthday buddies. Or just the moms hang out and celebrate all the birthdays, whoever's birthday is that month, each month that there are birthdays. Yeah. And then once we have that, maybe we can try the kids the following year. But it's hard. It would be hard to do both. You couldn't really. It's hard to do moms and kids. Yeah.
And it would depend on how far out you're going. You know what I mean?
Okay. So anything else to say about that?
I don't think so.
Let's do
the majority of our planning.
Let's do our Coop Q&A where we answer your questions.
All right. And if you have a question you want us to answer, head over to the podcast page on the website, thecoophomeschool.com, and fill out our contact form, or you can email us mamahens@thecoophomeschool.com.
What's our question, Jessie?
Our question is, my little one wants to go to school so badly. She's super outgoing and so smart, but she's doing amazing in homeschool. What do I do?
Well, I think that goes perfectly with our Coop group.
What?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Did you plan that?
No.
I think it goes perfectly with having a co-op and even a regular more regular meeting up co-op. Maybe not once a month or maybe
you need
once
that
a week
formal once a week.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the co-ops are really great because the opportunity to find a real friend is there, because it's usually you get the playtime and some unstructured time together, or the opportunity to meet a friend or two that you can spend time with, in addition to the co-op. And then there's the enrichment. So I know here in Southern California, we may have a lot more than in other areas, but here, because we have so many charter schools, we also have so many homeschool enrichment opportunities. So we have entire programs that offer almost like a build your own elective day. You know, you sign your kid up for classes between 9 and 2 p.m. if they want to do robotics. And then right after they have choir, and then they have, you know, all these things. You can build an entire day of learning just through these homeschool enrichment programs, or like the one that I used to teach at, we did the coastal music. So it was, what did we call it? Homeschool arts.
Yeah.
And so homeschool arts was a combination of music, art, and movement. And so that was really neat enrichment for those kids who really like that.
3-hour drop off.
Yeah.
You know, you can really get to know each other, especially if you end up going long over, you know, for a few years in a row.
Right. Because the reality of public school or traditional school is that most of those 6 to 7 hours that they spend there is not social time. So while they do have some amount of interacting throughout their sitting down in their desk times, you know, their social periods are actually much shorter. So then opportunities like, you know, these enrichment classes or co-ops would provide that and still give them this free time to be at home or to do their homeschooling thing. Explore clubs. I mean, we have an entire episode on extracurriculars, you know, explore clubs, explore their interests, because that's how you find people that you really connect with, you know, or put them in the kind of sports things where it rotates. If your kid really likes meeting new people because they're that kind of outgoing, then put them in different things. Have them try different things.
Yeah, and I feel like the hybrid school, like let's say this person actually just really likes school in general.
Right. Yeah.
So they could definitely do the hybrid where they go 2 days a week or 3 days a week,
which
if
again,
that's offered in your area.
Yeah.
But I think as schools are adapting and adjusting to this whole independent study idea and probably preparing for in case there's anything like this that comes through again, like COVID, that I feel like schools are moving in that way where they're going to offer more
hybrid options.
Yeah, hybrid options where you could still be part of your school sports team, their theater group or whatever. And then you would go in 2 days a week and use their computers for their independent study.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of options. I would not have known. People don't know these options are around them. They don't know that there's the hybrids. There's the option for 2 days a week, 3 days a week. There's the independent study options. There's the charter schools that are completely independent study. And then there's co-ops. There's the home, like everything you just said. I don't need to go through it all.
Right.
But
there's a lot of options, and it depends on more specifically why your child or what your child wants as what did she say? As a super outgoing and smart. So what is it that they want? Do they just need, I mean, I didn't like being at home. My mom, you know, was always making her play with me. You know, I couldn't do a lot of independent things. I was also not necessarily expected to just figure it out. But I always wanted to be in school. So it was preschool and then it was, you know, the regular school day. I hated being sick and having to be home. Hated it. And I'm not particularly outgoing, but I'm definitely, I like
extrovert.
Yeah, I like community. I like people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of solutions available out there.
Yes.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys can start your own Coop group if you're inspired.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these Coop groups forming.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We love your support. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave a rating and review to let us know how we're doing, and share our podcast with your friends who need a little community, humility, and joyful fun in homeschooling.